The important thing is not to stop questioning. That's Albert Einstein, of course. Welcome to the deep dive.
Hello.
We're jumping straight into a really interesting recent event. Pakistan's army chief reportedly visiting the United States.
Yeah, quite a significant development. And our main source for this deep dive today is a report from NDTV.
Right. And our mission, as always, is to critically unpack what this source tells us. Look at the different angles, why it matters for current affairs.
Especially, if you're preparing for UPSC exams, mains, or even prelims, or honestly, just if you want to be well-informed about what's happening, this is info curated for you.
Okay, let's get into it. The NDTV report mentions General Syed Asim Munir, Pakistan's army chief. He was apparently in the U.S.
Invited for the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary, June 14th, which, incidentally, the report notes, was also President Trump's 79th birthday.
Interesting timing. And the source mentioned his recent promotion, too, Field Marshal.
That's right. But, beyond the ceremony, what was the real agenda? What did the report say Pakistan was trying to achieve?
Good question. What did the source indicate there?
Well, it seems multi-layered. First up, security cooperation. The report flags Pakistan seeking U.S. help, specifically against ISKP.
Islamic State Khorasan province. Yeah, that's a major threat in the region.
Exactly. So pushing for that partnership now, according to the report, seems like a top priority on the security front.
Okay, security. Check. But the source suggested it wasn't just about that, right?
Not at all. Diplomacy was a big one, too. The report said Pakistan wanted the U.S. to sort of encourage India towards dialogue.
Dialogue on what specifically?
On resuming the Indus Waters Treaty, the water sharing agreement.
Ah, okay. And the source linked its suspension to?
Yes, it linked it to the Pahalgam incident back in April, which the report attributes to Islamabad-backed terrorists. So using this U.S. visit to lobby on a key India-Pakistan issue, that's a significant diplomatic play reported there.
Right, connecting security, regional tensions, and trying to leverage U.S. influence. What else was reportedly on the agenda? Economics, maybe?
Definitely economics. The report noted General Munir was expected to try and get President Trump's backing for a zero-tariff bilateral trade deal.
Wow, zero tariff. That's ambitious.
It is a big economic ask. And also seeking investment, particularly in minerals and agriculture, funneled through Pakistan's SIFC.
SIFC, that's the Special Investment Facilitation Council, the one meant to streamline investment.
Precisely. Set up to cut red tape, attract foreign money. So, pursuing these goals directly with the U.S. leadership, it highlights a clear economic focus for the visit, as reported.
Okay, quite a packed agenda reported there.
Yeah.
But the NDTV source didn't stop there, did it? It mentioned reactions within Pakistan spilling over into the U.S.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets really complex. The source reported that Imran Khan's party, the PTI,
the former prime minister's party,
they were actually planning protests against General Munir, right there in Washington, D.C.
Protests against their own army chief during an official U.S. visit. What were the reported reasons?
Well, according to the report, it's about opposing the current establishment. The source mentions they even referred to General Munir using the term Islamabad assassin. Pretty strong language.
Very strong. And where were these protests supposed to happen?
The report specified outside the Pakistani embassy on June 14th. It even quoted a PTI official, Sajjad Burki, PTI's Secretary for Overseas Affairs, basically calling on people to join, to restore democracy, and telling the White House that any deal made with the current government isn't acceptable to the people.
Wow. So these are the claims reported in the source material, highlighting just how intense the domestic political situation reportedly is, even playing out internationally.
Exactly. It shows these internal divisions aren't just staying home. They're traveling with the leadership, reportedly.
Fascinating. And the NDTV report mentioned something else happening in Washington around the same time, another Pakistani delegation.
Yes, it did. Citing a Dawn report, it noted that General Munir's visit probably coincided with a separate trip by a senior Pakistani trade delegation.
Ah, okay. Led by?
Commerce Secretary Jawad Paul. They were apparently there for more detailed talks on tariffs, trade imbalances, that sort of thing.
So multiple things happening at once. High-level security and economic talks, plus these parallel trade negotiations.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a very busy week for Pakistan and Washington, engaging on several fronts simultaneously.
So let's try and, connect these dots. We've got the reported security aims, the diplomatic push on the Indus Treaty, the big economic goals, this planned domestic political opposition showing up abroad, and a trade team working in parallel. What does it all tell us?
Well, putting it together, what the NDTV source really shows us is a picture of a high-stakes, multi-pronged visit. It wasn't just about one thing.
Right.
It reportedly covered urgent security needs like ISKP, a strategic diplomatic angle with India via the U.S., clear economic targets like trade and investment through SIFC.
And all this happening while facing reported political challenges from back home, even manifesting as protests in the U.S.
Exactly. That intersection security, economy, diplomacy, internal politics, all laid out in the source material. It's why understanding these events requires looking at all the pieces.
And that complexity, as reported here, makes it super relevant, doesn't it? Whether you're studying for UPSC, needing that analytical depth for mains, or context for prelims, or just trying to be an informed citizen, we curated this from the source for your understanding.
Precisely. It underlines that international visits are rarely simple. They're often these complex balancing acts, reflecting a whole range of pressures and goals, which this source seems to capture.
A really complex picture emerging from the NDTV report. We've unpacked those key reported details.
So here's something to think about, a final thought for you, based purely on what the source reported. How might the actual outcomes of the security talks or the trade discussions during this visit have been affected, if at all, by that reported domestic political opposition planned right there in the U.S.? Did those protests potentially change the dynamics or the leverage?
An interesting question to ponder. Food for thought. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the source material.
Hope it was useful.
We certainly hope this critical discussion helped your understanding. If you found it valuable, perhaps for UPSC prep or just keeping informed, do give us a like and subscribe.
And please, feel free to leave comments below if you have more questions based on the NDTV report we discussed today. We'll see you next time.